What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway here with AllSooners, alongside by John Hoover at the stadium in Norman, wrapping up Brent Venables' weekly press conference on Tuesday ahead of the Sooners hitting the road again, taking on TCU on Saturday morning in Fort Worth, trying to bounce back after the first really big speed bump of the Brent Venables era, losing to Kansas State last Saturday, 41-34. Hoove, obviously, this is a team that it's been nothing but good vibes and positivity since Brent Venables got here. The first 3 weeks went just pretty much according to plan, and you run into the buzzsaw Kansas State. Now you're left kind of wondering, what is this team? And you ask Brent Venables, are you concerned about the identity of the team, trying to figure it out? Where is this team basically headed, and what are they going into this fifth game?
So what I was wondering is an identity. Is that something that the media created generations ago?
Right,
is that something that fans come up with when they don't understand what their team is doing? Is that something that coaches do when they're desperate? We need an identity. This is our identity. What is a team identity? Brent Venables said it's about who you are, it's about what you do, it's about how you do things. So he said it's absolutely a real thing. The identity of a team is absolutely a real thing. The thing about it is, does that change over the course of a year? Yes, he said it can change over the course of a year. As the season evolves, the team's identity evolves, and usually that identity will play itself out at the end of the season. Well, what about after a loss? He said, no, you can't change your identity after a moment. Whether that's a win, whether that's a loss, you have to be who you are. You have to be in your own shoes. So you can't be changing back and forth and, oh, we lost and now we're not a good team, and oh, we won and now we're a great team. So he's pretty convinced that he knows what this team identity is. He said he doesn't know because it's early, only 4 games into the season, right? He'll know at the end of the season, but he's convinced that what he's seen so far from them in his 9 months with them is this team's identity.
Yeah, that's something very consistent that we've heard from Brent today, obviously, and Ted Roof and Jeff Levy yesterday, and as well as players yesterday, in terms of, you might think after a loss like that and, somewhat disastrous, maybe that's overstating it, the way the defense played, that you might be total overhaul on some stuff, but that's really not the way that Coach Venables or the staff or the players are approaching. It's been a lot of, same thing. Brent Venables talked about that today, ripping it back down to the studs. We do that after a win anyway, kind of that, just keep doing what we do, trust our process kind of an idea, and we'll get where we need to go. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, this week against TCU, going to be a test. Sonny Dykes has got that team rolling here early in the year offensively. I mean, Brent Venables talked about it. Look at the numbers. They're right up there with any offense in the country through the first few weeks. Now, they haven't played exactly a murderer's row, but hey, they did it at SMU on Saturday, got a couple of earlier wins in the season, 3-0 start. It's going to be a big challenge for these guys.
It is going to be a big challenge, especially for the defense. This defense is licking its wounds a little bit after all the yards and points and first downs and third down conversions that they gave up Saturday night against Kansas State. So they go up against an offense that is explosive, has what Brent Venables said is probably the best team speed in the Big 12. They have a quarterback who's, I didn't realize this, but he said leading the nation in passer efficiency. That's a statistic, that's a metric that is really heavily based on yards per completion down the field, so that illustrates that team speed that Brent's talking about. The fact that they're able to pop big plays, and they've done it again. Not a great schedule, they played, but a solid schedule. They won by 8 at SMU. Did the little crosstown, iron skillet, frying pan, whatever that is.
Iron skillet, right.
They
the Sonny Dykes Bowl.
Right, they got that one off. So this is a team that TCU, offensively at least, how many times have we gone into TCU game, right, where Oklahoma's playing against TCU, and we're more concerned about the offense than we are about the defense? Who don't really know what this defensive identity is for TCU. I think we understand pretty much what the TCU offense is about. Yeah,
Gary Patterson, those days are gone. It's the Sonny Dykes era now in Fort Worth. And, for this game where Oklahoma's going to be looking to bounce back defensively, a lot of people pointing to the linebacking room. It's thin. Brent Venables admitted as much. I mean, you have your main guys, which everybody knows, Danny Stutzman and Deshaun White, of course, the big names there. But behind them, it's David Agwebu. It's kind of, there's not a whole lot of other guys to turn to. Brent Venables talked about the freshmen today. Cody McKenzie, Kip Lewis. No, those guys are probably going to redshirt this season. So that's kind of an area that, I don't know if you want to call it an area of concern, but these guys have to make it work because they don't really have any other options.
It's the position that we thought might have the best depth in the preseason of any of the defensive positions is linebacker. How are they going to fit 2 positions? How are they going to fit 6, 8, 9 guys in those 2 or sometimes 3 positions? that's what he's been doing, and that's what Ted Roof has been doing. David Agwebu, we saw Jaron Canick play lights out at Nebraska.
Yeah.
He didn't get as much time out here at the cheetah position, which I think a lot of fans are wanting to see more Jaron Canick. You saw Deshaun White miss a couple of tackles here and there, misfit a couple of runs here and there. How about Jaron Canick? Makes you wonder, just makes you wonder. I don't know what the answer is. If the coaches believed that he was ready to step in and contribute at that level, they would put him in there. There's no doubt. But I think we're going to see the guys that we've seen so far, I think we're going to see a lot more of them, especially on the revelation today that Kobe McKenzie is not there mentally with a lot of the, picking up the playbook and adapting to what's being thrown at him on a weekly basis. He's still young. Brent Venables said he's still a freshman. He believes in him. But same with Kip Lewis, another true freshman. We thought those guys were going to slide right in there and play, especially Kobe, I did. But apparently that's not in the plan right now.
Right, yeah. So it's those guys who you mentioned, maybe with Jaron Canick tossed in the mix, maybe a Shane Witter is another option, possibly if you want just another guy out there. But for the most part, those guys we mentioned earlier, Stutzman, Agwebu, White, it's kind of on them, to make it work if they're going to turn this thing around after what was obviously a rough game on Saturday. So, looking forward to it. Oklahoma, TCU, Saturday morning in Fort Worth. We'll all be there, of course, the AllSooners crew, making the trip down south. Then we're going to come back. Then we're going to go back down south again for Texas the following week. Looking forward to it, though, as the Sooners try to bounce back. Who knows what's going to happen this weekend? I don't know what TCU is. I don't know what Oklahoma is now after last weekend. Flip a coin on this weekend. Should be a lot of fun.
We don't know anything about the Big 12.
The Big 12 is a mess.
Top team, we don't know. Worst team, we don't know.
No, 1 through 10, it feels like anybody could beat anybody.
It's a bunch of fours and
on
fives.
Saturday right now. It is a very topsy-turvy conference. Pretty much anybody still feels like they're right in it.
It'll shake out eventually, but right now we have no idea.
Right now, the first couple weekends here have been no answers given so far. So it's going to be a fun weekend in the Big 12 as we continue to try and learn what teams are. And, of course, Oklahoma TCU is going to be another one where we try to learn a little more about each of these teams here still in the early part of this season. So, looking forward to it. AllSooners.com, the place to be. Tons of coverage leading up to this one. Oklahoma and TCU on Saturday. You can watch the Brent Venables presser. Obviously, Ted Roof, Jeff Lebby. All the player availabilities, stories, reaction, preparation, preview for this game on Saturday. Oklahoma and TCU Saturday morning in Fort Worth. That's it for now. We'll see you in Fort Worth. For John Hoover, I'm Josh Callaway.